When it comes to proactive ways we can improve our cellular and metabolic function and do it for the long run, it's tough to find a topic that is more divided and polarized than the topic of protein consumption. Yeah, I can see the gears turning behind your eyes and the smoke coming from your ears already. However, I am here to tell you that there is some new data that just hit the scientific streets that may or may not make things more confusing. You gotta love nutritional science. Yo, what is up? Welcome back to another week of How to Health. My name is Kevin. I run liftandbalance.com, where we take aim at all things health and longevity and do it in an odd, weird, interesting, and highly sarcastic way. Today we are exploring one of the long-standing protein questions. Is there an upper limit to how much we humans can biologically utilize per meal? A question that I know I, for one, have heard about 10 different answers to at this point. Thus, why this new research that we're going to review was an instant double click for me. And if you're wondering, the debate on this topic really stems down to the following. If we agree that the average human should be consuming somewhere between 0.8 and 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight a day to optimize the human body and enhance the odds for longevity, which is a debate in and of itself, but the side of belief that I am currently on, as we discussed in my protein strategy video here, does it make a difference if you consume all of this protein in one sitting or spread it out throughout the day? And in a very sciencey fashion, there's research suggesting both sides of the debate as optimal. Oh, what a tangled web we weave. That being said, if you're like me and you have a curiosity that takes you that extra mile in this health and longevity game, it'd sure be nice if we could find this sweet spot and keep our biological business in the green, right? Because these amino acids, which make up the larger structure we call protein, have some massive biological impacts, being the essential building blocks which maintain and enhance muscle, synthesize essential peptides, hormones, and neurotransmitters, facilitate critical chemical reactions, build antibodies, and as a result, help stave off frailty, fragility, dysfunction, and disease, putting you, the astute individual, in a position to live long and finish strong. So on one side of this, we have the dose response studies, which have reported that consuming 20 to 25 grams of protein as sufficient to maximize muscle protein synthesis rates in young, healthy adults, with no further increases when larger amounts are consumed, ultimately suggesting that higher protein intake did not further increase anabolic signaling and that any excess amino acids were at risk of becoming oxidized, which ain't cool because, as we know, that can lead to some unwelcomed cellular dysfunction. And from this body of work, a viewpoint and recommendation has been built to distribute protein intake evenly throughout the day, with each meal providing no more than 20 to 25 grams of protein. Then there's the other viewpoint, which is that a minimum of 20 to 30 grams of protein per meal is needed to ensure a proper anabolic response, with the maximum per meal threshold extending to the 60 and maybe even 80 gram limit, while also recommending dividing up protein consumption into several sittings. So, which one is it? Or is there a totally different option which hasn't been popularized at all? Well, here's where we get to the fun part. Just like everything else in this complex biological world, the right answer is likely somewhere in the middle and depends on an individual's unique lifestyle variables, some of which being age, sex, metabolic health status, muscle density, sleep consistency, diet and protein sources, microbiome composition, and the all-important propensity for a little badonkadonking, aka living an active lifestyle, aka exercising. Because remember, as we saw in this interesting breakdown here, if an individual does some brief and moderate exercise before a high protein meal, they actually increase its utilization into skeletal muscle for processes like muscle protein synthesis, which implies that protein uptake into our cells can be dependent on that current cellular environment and be in a fluctuating state. With that background, I think it's about time to see what this new study is all about. To investigate if there is a limit on the magnitude and duration of the anabolic response from protein ingestion, researchers recruited 36 healthy, recreationally active young men and randomized them in this double-blind, placebo-controlled trial, the creme de la creme when it comes to controlled studies. Here, the intervention groups first participated in a nice 60-minute full body resistance workout, creating an exercise-induced biochemical environment within. Then, they were randomly assigned to consume either a 25-gram or 100-gram beverage of protein right after, all while researchers measured several markers before, during, and after the intervention, including muscle protein synthesis and muscle breakdown using isotopic markers, and whole body protein net balance using blood amino acid measurements. So, what'd they find? Well, in Mean Girls terms, that the limit did not exist. The protein limit, that is. Specifically observing that ingesting 100 grams of protein resulted in a greater or more prolonged increase in muscle protein synthesis compared to 25 grams, with this increase being observed in both myofibrillar and connective tissue protein, while whole body protein net balance was significantly higher after 100 grams of protein compared to 25, finding that overall protein breakdown rates and amino acid oxidation remained unchanged, suggesting no inefficiency or wastefulness with higher protein intake. Huh, you don't say. Now, let me remind you that this study was extremely small and conducted in a population which does not accurately represent the average population, that being young, healthy, active males. Adding on, there was no arm of the study that continued feeding the 25-gram protein group more throughout the day to see if the metabolic reaction would be similar, or skewed towards a better or worse response compared to the 100-gram protein group. Piling on this list of caveats, we also can't forget the study mentioned before around exercise's role in increasing an individual's protein utilization thresholds. So, all in all, I think we can agree that there are certainly a lot of variables at play here, but this data is nonetheless super interesting. Which now brings us to the all-important question: what does this actually change from a strategy perspective? A good question indeed. And the real answer is, it depends. Not only on who you ask, but what their goals are. I personally think that this further solidifies that we humans can utilize way more than 30 grams of protein per meal, and should probably strive to consume more to hit that 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight daily goal. What this study still didn't answer is if there is actually an upper threshold to how much our body can utilize per meal, and what variables affect this threshold the most. Could it be that young, healthy males post-exercise are the demographic which have the highest protein threshold compared to every other group? Maybe. It'd certainly be a hypothesis that I would run with. So there are still a lot of unknowns, especially when there are other studies like this recent one that looked into how healthy humans respond to even and uneven protein distribution across 3 daily meals, with the even group consuming 30 grams for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, while the uneven group consumed 10 grams for breakfast, 15 for lunch, and 65 for dinner. And after measuring the 24-hour protein synthesis response in both groups, researchers found that the muscle protein synthesis rate was 25% higher in the even group compared to the uneven. Yeah, makes you think we need to keep investigating, doesn't it? and have the wherewithal to know that as far as we go, as much good data as we collect, there will always be a substantial individual lifestyle factor at play. Thus why being a practitioner of your well-being and a owner of your health is the only true strategy that works. In that spirit, I find the following strategies helpful in optimizing my day-to-day protein. Aiming to consume 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight a day, starting and ending my feeding windows with high protein meals, consuming a hearty dose after my workouts from real high quality sources, prioritizing rest, and fasting 14 plus hours overnight. All of which we break down with much more detail in this video here. But again, it is really about you finding your sweet spot and making it sustainable. So, customize away. What I will say is the majority of the population is likely underdoing it when it comes to this macronutrient. And it could very well be one of the factors influencing if you're gonna feel how you're capable of feeling each and every day, or the modern societal norm of feeling like a sack of, well, you get where I'm going. I mean, who would have thunk that it comes down to good old strategic movement and real food again?